In the quiet suburbs of a mid-sized American city, where maple trees lined the streets and neighbors still waved hello over white picket fences, lived Eleanor Thompson, a 62-year-old widow with a penchant for gardening and online shopping. Her days were filled with the simple pleasures of tending to her rose bushes, baking apple pies for her grandchildren, and scrolling through Walmart's digital aisles for the latest deals on kitchen gadgets. Eleanor wasn't tech-savvy by any stretch. Her smartphone was more of a glorified address book than a portal to the digital world. But she had embraced the convenience of online banking and apps like Venmo for sending birthday money to her kids. Little did she know, on that fateful Tuesday afternoon in late November, her ordinary life was about to collide with the shadowy underbelly of cybercrime. The phone rang just as Eleanor was settling into her favorite armchair with a cup of chamomile tea. The caller ID flashed her bank's name, complete with the familiar 1-800 number she'd seen on her statements. She answered without a second thought, her voice warm and trusting. "Hello." On the other end was a man with a polished, authoritative tone, laced with just enough urgency to set her heart racing. "Mrs. Thompson, this is Jimmy Anderson from the Fraud Detection Department. We're working in conjunction with your bank and the FBI on a potential security breach involving your account." He paused for effect, as if consulting notes. "We've detected suspicious activity, multiple unauthorized login attempts from overseas. We need to verify some information to secure your funds immediately." Eleanor's mind flashed to the news stories she'd seen about identity theft. Her husband, God rest his soul, had always handled the finances, but since his passing 5 years ago, she'd taken over with cautious determination. "Oh dear," she said, her free hand clutching the armrest. "What do you need from me?" Jimmy Anderson, a name that screamed fabricated normalcy, like a character from a bad spy novel, proceeded to weave a web of credibility. He rattled off the last 4 digits of her social security number, her account balance down to the penny, even the date of her most recent deposit. "We're seeing attempts to transfer $2,300 to an unverified account," he explained. "But don't worry, we've frozen your card temporarily. To unfreeze it and flag this as fraud, I just need you to confirm a few details." What followed was a masterclass in social engineering. Jimmy asked for her full login credentials, her email password, even the security questions tied to her accounts. He spoke with the calm assurance of a professional, dropping acronyms like FBI protocol and real-time monitoring to keep her off balance. Eleanor, flustered and fearing the loss of her savings money she'd scrimped for retirement and her daughter's upcoming wedding, complied. As she recited the information, she had no idea that Jimmy was already logging in from a dimly lit room halfway across the world, his fingers flying across a keyboard in Vietnam. Meanwhile, Eleanor's daughter, Sarah, a 35-year-old marketing consultant with a sharp eye for scams, was at work when her phone buzzed with a frantic text from her mom. "Bank called about fraud." Helping them now, Sarah's stomach dropped. She'd warned her mother countless times about phishing calls, but Eleanor always brushed it off with a laugh. "I'm not that gullible, dear." Sarah dialed her immediately. "Mom, hang up. That's not the bank." But it was too late. By the time Eleanor ended the call with Jimmy, promising to follow up if needed, the damage was done. Sarah rushed over to her mother's house, a cozy 2-story colonial with faded blue shutters, her mind racing through worst-case scenarios. They sat at the kitchen table, the same one where family dinners had unfolded for decades, and pieced together the puzzle. First, the bank account. Eleanor tried to log in on her laptop, but the password was rejected. "It says invalid credentials," she whispered, her face paling. Sarah took over, calling the real bank helpline. After a tense hold music interlude, a genuine representative confirmed the horror. Someone had accessed the account remotely, attempting a wire transfer of $2,300 to an international recipient. The card had indeed been declined due to suspicious activity flags, thank goodness for automated systems, but the intruder had viewed statements, downloaded transaction histories, and even changed the contact email. "That slimeball," Sarah muttered, her fingers trembling as she helped her mother file a fraud report. They drove to the local branch, a sterile building with fluorescent lights and overly cheerful tellers, where Eleanor closed the account entirely. New cards, new numbers, a fresh start. But the scammer's reach extended further. Next was the email. Eleanor's Gmail was the linchpin of her digital life, linked to everything from her Amazon Prime to her Medicare portal. When they tried to access it from her phone, it prompted for a verification code sent to ... a number neither recognized. "He's changed the phone number on the account," Sarah realized, her voice tight with anger, but the computer offered a lifeline. Logging in via the browser on Eleanor's desktop, an ancient Dell that hummed like a small engine required only the Windows password for two-factor authentication, a quirk of Google's device trust system. They were in. The inbox was a battlefield. Spam emails from dubious sources, password reset notifications for accounts Eleanor hadn't touched in months. And there, in the devices section of the account settings, was the smoking gun, a Samsung phone logged in from Hanoi, Vietnam. Sarah's eyes widened. "Mom, look at this." "He's still connected." Eleanor's face hardened, a spark of defiance igniting in her usually gentle eyes. "What can we do?" Sarah grinned, a mix of mischief and justice. "We can kick him out." And more. With a few clicks, they initiated a remote sign-out for all devices except their own. But why stop there? Google offered an option to find my device, and with it, the nuclear button, factory reset. "This will wipe his phone clean," Sarah explained. "All his data, apps, everything." Eleanor nodded, her finger hovering over the confirm button. They pressed it together, imagining the scammer's panic as his screen went dark, his digital empire crumbling. As the request processed, they dove deeper into the emails. Notifications poured in, login attempts to Venmo, Walmart, even her old eBay account. The scammer had been methodical, changing passwords and linking his own details where possible. Walmart was a mess, order history tampered with, a new shipping address in some Vietnamese province. "He's probably planning to order stuff on your dime," Sarah said, frustration boiling over. Venmo proved trickier. The app demanded a texted verification code, but the linked number was now the scammer's. "We can't get in," Eleanor sighed, slumping back, but persistence paid off. Buried in the login screen was the forgot password option, which bypassed the phone and sent a reset link to the email now securely in their hands. They changed the password, revoked all sessions, and unlinked any suspicious payment methods. "Bye-bye, Venmo," Sarah quipped, high-fiving her mom. The phone itself was the final frontier. Eleanor's notifications revealed unauthorized access attempts dating back to days, subtle probes, like testing a locked door. "He must have installed some malware during the call," Sarah theorized. "Maybe a remote access tool." They factory reset her device too. But to be safe, Sarah insisted on a new phone. At the Verizon store, they picked out a sleek model with enhanced security features, transferring only essential data under the watchful eye of a tech-savvy associate. 13 hours later, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in hues of orange, they tackled Walmart one last time. Signing out and hitting forgot password again. The verification code pinged Eleanor's new phone, the number unchanged there. Oversight by the hasty hacker. With email access restored, they reclaimed the account fully, deleting bogus orders and strengthening security with multi-factor authentication. As they sat on the porch that evening, wrapped in blankets against the chill, Eleanor reflected on the ordeal. "I feel like we've hacked the hacker," she said with a chuckle. Sarah nodded, picturing Jimmy Anderson in his Vietnamese lair, staring at a bricked phone, his ill-gotten gains evaporating like morning mist. Karma, indeed, had a digital twist. But let's rewind and expand this tale, delving into the minds, the moments, and the mayhem that turned a routine scam into an epic comeback, the prelude, a life unassuming. Eleanor Thompson's world was one of routines etched in comfort. Widowed after 40 years of marriage to Robert, a quiet accountant who preferred ledgers to laptops. She had inherited a modest home in Willow Creek, Illinois. The neighborhood was the kind where kids still played hopscotch on sidewalks, and the local diner served bottomless coffee with a side of gossip. Eleanor worked part-time at a flower shop, arranging bouquets that brightened weddings and funerals alike. Her children Sarah, the ambitious daughter in Chicago, and her son, Mark, a teacher in Ohio, called weekly, but it was the grandkids who lit up her days with facetime giggles. Technology crept in slowly. Robert had set up her first email in the early 2000s, and by 2025, she was navigating apps with tentative confidence. Venmo for spoiling the grandkids, Walmart for grocery deliveries when her arthritis flared, and online banking to avoid the lines at the branch. It's like magic, she'd say, though she often forgot passwords, relying on Google's autofill. The scammer, whom we'll call Jimmy for narrative's sake, though his real name was likely something far less Anglo-Saxon, operated from a bustling cyber cafe in Hanoi. Vietnam's tech scene was booming, but so was its underbelly of call centers pumping out scams like assembly lines. Jimmy, in his mid-20s, had dropped out of university to chase quick riches. Armed with leaked data from dark web breaches, social security numbers, account details, he dialed numbers from spoof lines, his English honed from YouTube tutorials. It's just business, he'd tell his roommates, ignoring the moral rot. That Tuesday, Jimmy's script was flawless. He'd purchased Eleanor's info 4 pennies on a forum, cross-referencing it with public records. The call connected, and the game began. The call: Web of Lies, Mrs. Thompson. Thank you for taking my call. This is urgent. Jimmy's voice was smooth, accented, but masked by practice. He sat in a cramped booth, screens flickering with open tabs, her bank's website, a VPN routing through the US, and a notepad app for jotting credentials. Eleanor, tea cooling forgotten, leaned forward. What kind of activity? Attempts from IP addresses in Eastern Europe, Jimmy lied. Knowing fear of foreign hackers sold the story. We've partnered with the FBI's cyber division to trace it. Agent ID 47892. If you'd like to verify, he gave a fake number, banking on her not calling. She didn't. Instead, she provided her maiden name, birth date, even the answer to what was your first pet. Fluffy, the cat from her childhood farm. As she spoke, Jimmy multitasked, logging into her Gmail. Success. From there, password resets cascaded like dominoes. Excellent. Mrs. Thompson. Now, to confirm the freeze. Read me the code we just sent to your phone. Eleanor did, unaware it was a real two-factor code he'd triggered. With that, her bank was his playground. He queued the transfer $2,300 to a mule account in Thailand, but the bank's AI flagged it, declining instantly. Damn, he muttered in Vietnamese, but pressed on, downloading PDFs of statements for later sale. The call stretched to 45 minutes, Jimmy peppering in reassurances. You're doing great. The FBI appreciates citizens like you. Eleanor felt heroic, not victimized until Sarah's text shattered the illusion. The awakening, panic and pursuit. Sarah sped home, weaving through traffic, her podcast on marketing trends forgotten. Arriving, she found Eleanor pale, the phone still in hand. He sounded so official, Eleanor stammered. Together, they assessed, bank, compromised, but no funds lost. Email, locked out on mobile, but desktop access revealed the intruder's trail. Hanoi, Sarah read aloud. That's Vietnam. Mom, this guy's international. Excitement mingled with rage. Sarah, who'd once fallen for a minor phishing email herself, saw this as redemption. They changed the Gmail password a 20-character beast with symbols and purge-saved logins. Then, the device list. Jimmy's phone glowed active, factory reset. Eleanor asked, eyes sparkling, do it. In Hanoi, Jimmy's phone buzzed. A notification, device reset initiated. His heart sank. Contacts, photos, crypto wallets gone. He frantically tried to abort, but it was too late. The screen locked, data erasing. No, no. He yelled, drawing stares from cafe patrons. His scam haul from Eleanor evaporated. Back in Willow Creek, victory tasted sweet, but Venmo loomed. Attempts failed until the forgot password loophole. Gotcha. Sarah cheered as they reclaimed it. Unlinking his added bank, Walmart was thornier. Orders for electronics to foreign addresses piled up. He's reselling, Sarah guessed, but the update came later. Forgot password again. Code to Eleanor's phone. Access granted. The phone, malware suspected from a link. Jimmy tricked her into clicking mid-call. A new device, data wiped clean slate. Reflections, lessons in the digital age in the aftermath. Eleanor became a cautionary tale advocate, sharing her story at senior center meetings. Don't trust caller ID, she'd warn. Sarah installed antivirus everywhere, turning family tech guru, Jimmy, likely moved to new targets. But that reset cost him dearly, perhaps a lesson in karma's bite. Their dance of triumph, a literal one in the living room, to old Motown records. Hacker hacked, balance restored.